Chapter 10. The Curse and the Truth Revealed. Kagome rolled her head, feeling something painful in her headache. She woke up and found herself alone in the darkness. She didn't know what was going on, but there was a certain figure standing behind her. Kagome turned around and saw the unfamiliar woman with silver hair with blue eyes and red lips. "Tsubaki," Kagome growled as she glared at her furiously. She remembered how the woman had cursed her with the tainted shards to kill Inuyasha, but Tsubaki has returned. Although Kagome didn't know what happened from the last time she heard she disappeared. "What are you doing here? I thought you were dead." Tsubaki giggled evilly. Well. The young priestess who ends up falling in love with the demon dog Sesshomaru," she smirked. "That's a shame for leaving Inuyasha and the group behind." "Says who? My heart will never belong to Inuyasha. My heart belongs to Sesshomaru. Now wipe that smirk off your face, Tsubaki," Kagome shouted, still glaring at the dark priestess. Tsubaki walked towards her slowly as Kagome backed away. "You may fall in love with Sesshomaru instead of Inuyasha, but I'm here to warn you, Kagome. You are bound to whoever and whatever saves your life, but you must lose your heart to them, or darkness will befall you. Remember, Kagome, if you ever fall in love with Sesshomaru, you will surely die in the hands of someone who betrayed you." When Tsubaki spoke to the young priestess, she began to walk into the darkness with an evil smirk on her lips. "Wait, what do you mean? Come back!" Kagome shouted, running towards her, but she ended up fading away. "Kagome?" She heard a voice say her name. Kagome felt warmth wrapped around her as the sun began to rise in the sky and peek through the leaves of the tree that she and Sesshomaru had slept together under. She only opened her eyes and held her breath when she saw Sesshomaru was staring at her. Her face turned cherry red as she noticed Sesshomaru was holding her close to his chest. He was staring at Kagome in her sleep for a little longer. She had to admit that he looked quite handsome when he was watching her. "Good morning, Sesshomaru," Kagome greeted with a soft smile. "Good morning," Sesshomaru greeted back. He held her closer and placed his lips against hers. Kagome felt like she was on fire as Sesshomaru held her close while kissing her softly. He was such a gentleman. His lips are gentle. Even though, when she was with Inuyasha, he would be a gentleman instead of treating her like his slave and even his shard detector. Sesshomaru let go of her lips and started to stare at her beautiful icy blue eyes, which, by the way, author's note, instead of golden amber brown eyes, we're gonna go with blue eyes from now on. "How was your first night outside?" Sesshomaru smirked. "Beautiful," Kagome said with a smile. Later on that day, the four decided to go on the next journey to see if they could find any clues in regards to the next shard. From Kagome's point of view, she remembered in her dreams when she saw Tsubaki standing in the darkness and warned her about the visions. She doesn't understand. Who will kill Kagome? Will it be Inuyasha who betrayed her for leading her to death? Or will it be Sesshomaru? But Sesshomaru had never hurt nor betrayed her. He was her protector. When they all left the forest, Sesshomaru noticed there was something wrong with Kagome. He began to walk beside her and held her hand softly. "Kagome, what's the matter with you? Is something wrong?" Sesshomaru asked her, sounding a bit worried. Kagome gave him a soft smile. "Nothing's wrong, Sesshomaru. It's probably just a weird dream. That's all." Sesshomaru sighed deeply. He smiled back at her softly. "All right, Kagome. I thought there was something that has happened to you." They arrived at a fork in the road. One leads to a nearby village, while the other would lead to an even longer road. "You don't need to worry. I'm still fine. But speaking of which way should we go?" Kagome asked, pointing at the roads. Sesshomaru spun his head and stared at the fork in the road. "We can go to the nearby village because I caught their scent. But if we go down the other, we'll be able to stop and rest for a while once again." "Do you sense any shards, Kagome?" Rin asked her. Kagome shook her head. "No, I don't, Rin." "Then let's go to the nearby village," Sesshomaru said as the two girls followed him. "Except for Jockin. He doesn't like humans all the time." "Okay," Kagome answered. Jockin sighed in disbelief. "Why do we always have to go to the human village?" he asked himself as he followed them to the nearby village. "There was a young girl here earlier who went after the jewel shard." Meanwhile, with Inuyasha's group, the village leader informed them as Moroku and Sango, along with Shippo and Kirara, went to the village beach alone while Inuyasha and Kikyo were waiting for them near the edge of the village. They wanted to ask the leader if there had been any rumors of the jewel shard or a demon prowling around. A young girl? Moroku asked in a bit of shock. Yes, quite a beautiful one too, the villager led said with a smile. What does a young girl look like? Sango asked him curiously. Long black silky hair with a tint of blue. Her eyes are icy blue like a crystal. She wore her strange green and white clothes. She was with someone else as well, he explained to them. Someone else? With who? Sango asked. Yeah, we want to know who this person looks like, Moroku pointed out. It was a young man with long silver hair with golden eyes. He looked older than a young girl. He has red marks on his cheeks, and he wore his kimono armor. I believe he's a demon, the village leader said. All four of them froze in shock. They looked at each other and knew exactly who it was. It was Sesshomaru. But why was Kagome with him? It's been almost 4 months since Kagome left the group. But now she has another group. They knew Inuyasha had lied to them. It was later that afternoon after Kikyo took off walking into the forest to do something. Perfect timing to interrogate Inuyasha. When his group arrived back, they walked towards him and gave them a look with expressions. Inuyasha's ears went down when there was something wrong. Hey guys, why the faces? Did something happen out there? Inuyasha asked curiously. Inuyasha, we need to talk. The village leader told us that he saw a young girl with long black hair with icy blue eyes that purified the shard. There's only one person who fits that description. The question is, Inuyasha, why did you lie to us? Moroku said, narrowing his violet eyes at him. What? What are you talking about, Moroku? She probably decided to come back. Inuyasha lied with a nervous smile. Don't lie to us, Inuyasha. Sango threatened as she pointed the tip of the blade at Inuyasha's nose. There is something you were hiding from us, Inuyasha. Tell us the truth, or else I'll have to end you here and now. Okay, fine. You want to know why? I drove Kagome off a cliff to bring the other half of her soul back to Kikyo, Inuyasha admitted. You did what? They exclaimed in shock. Inuyasha! How could you do such a thing? Sango yelled in anger. I don't know, Inuyasha stuttered. You don't know? You don't know why you drove Kagome off a cliff to take the other half of her soul for Kikyo to be whole again? Moroku glared at him. I only remember a few pieces of the memory, I swear, Inuyasha yelped, acting like an innocent man. They all glared at him for a few seconds, and they started to pack their things. What the hell are you all doing? We're leaving, Inuyasha. You're on your own, Moroku declared. But we're in the team. We need each other. No leaving anyone behind, Inuyasha shouted. You don't need us. All you need is Kikyo, Sango added in anger. You'll be fine without us, Shippo shouted as Kirara nodded with agreement. But you can't. We're in the group. Not anymore, Inuyasha, Moroku declared as he and the others were done packing their stuff and ready to leave the group behind. Goodbye, Inuyasha. With all three of them gone, Inuyasha was now left alone and didn't say anything. He knew he was left behind and became broken. He wished to bring the group back and find the shards, but it was too late for that. Chapter 11. Kidnapped. Sesshomaru, wait up! Kagome shouted in the hill of the mountains while running towards him. Rin was running after her as well. Jakin walked beside Sesshomaru. It was now 4 months. It's been 2 weeks for now. After they stayed in the nearby village and there was no sign of the shards, they continued to move on. Kagome carried the bow and arrows with her bare hands while she and Rin kept running towards them. Rin suddenly tripped over the rock that caused her to fall into the ground. Kagome stopped for a second. She spun around and ran towards the little girl. Rin, are you okay? Kagome asked, helping her stand up. I'm alright, Rin said with a smile. Kagome gasped as she saw something. She had sensed the jewel shard. The girl saw the giant demon climb the mountains as he reached out his large hand towards them. But they both backed away from the monster as Kagome protected Rin from it. She pulled out the sacred arrow, then pointed at its forehead where the jewel was hidden inside. Kagome aimed at the monster's forehead, then shot it through its forehead, making it cause an explosion. Okay, I'm just gonna say something real quick. I love these, but the grammar is shit. They screamed as they both landed on the rocky ground. Kagome saw the shard was landing into the ground. Suddenly, there was another monster who tried to get them. Kagome! Rin! Sesshomaru yelled out their names as he unleashed his sword, then slaughtered the monster. When the monster turned in the dust, he spun around and found Kagome's injury. He noticed her left arm was wounded by an explosion. Kagome groaned in pain and she began to stand up weakly. Rin helped her stand up straight. Kagome, are you okay? Sesshomaru asked her. His voice sounded worried. She nodded. I'm sorry. It's okay, but be careful next time, Sesshomaru said as he began to walk away. Lord Sesshomaru, can we stop for a moment? Kagome needs to heal her wounds, Rin said. Don't worry, Rin. We'll stop in the nearby forest until we're safe, he told her. Rin nodded. Okay. After Kagome's left arm was bandaged up, she went to go see Sesshomaru who sat on the tree. She noticed he looked worried. Sesshomaru glanced down at the sword, squeezing it with his bare hand. Sesshomaru, are you worried? I'm sorry about this. I did my best to protect Rin, Kagome said, sounding a bit disappointed. Sesshomaru sighed deeply, glancing his eyes at her. You're fine, Kagome. But I almost lost you because the explosions nearly killed you. Kagome looked away. I know. Kagome? Sesshomaru stared at her with his softened gold eyes. Do you feel safe with me? Do you feel happy with me after Inuyasha drove you off a cliff? Kagome looked away and glanced her eyes down at the ground. She held on to her left arm tightly to feel the pain a bit. Her eyes softened. Flashback. Wait, where are you going? Kagome shouted out as she followed him. Sesshomaru didn't reply to her. He was just walking away from her as he headed toward the path. Kagome didn't know why Sesshomaru didn't say anything back. Maybe he doesn't want to talk to her. Why are you following me, priestess? Sesshomaru questioned as he glanced his amber eyes at her. Well, I thought maybe I could go with you, Kagome said as she followed him. Shouldn't you be back with Inuyasha and the others? Sesshomaru asked her. Kagome stopped for a second. She glanced down and felt a bit sad. She didn't say anything to him. She just stands there and looks at the ground. Sesshomaru began to spin his head around and looked at how Kagome was sad and lonely because of what Inuyasha had put her through. If that's the case, then follow me if you want to. Follow you? Kagome blinked. But what if... I'll protect you, Sesshomaru interrupted. She blinked again. Protect me? If that's the case, I'll protect you from Inuyasha or other demons, Sesshomaru murmured, looking away and walking away again. Kagome began to nod her head. Okay. After they both talked, Kagome walks beside him while following him around the forest. She wondered why Sesshomaru decided to protect her from Inuyasha. She thought he doesn't protect anyone, except for Rin. She wondered about Rin and Jakin. She couldn't wait to meet them again. She began to speak to him. Sesshomaru? Sesshomaru turned his head at Kagome. Thank you for protecting me, Kagome said. Sesshomaru nodded with his eyes closed. Kagome thought he would say a word to her. She had never expected that Sesshomaru would be the one to help her from the demons. She couldn't help but follow him by his side. Flashback ends. Kagome looked back into his eyes and began to speak to him. Sesshomaru? Sesshomaru, I love you, she confessed with a smile. You'll always be my protector, but I know you won't hurt me as Inuyasha did. I'm fine with this, honestly. Sesshomaru felt her being leaned into his big fluffy tail by Kagome. He glanced his eyes at her and saw her sitting beside him. He began to touch her in the hand with his fingers. He began to hold on to it. Kagome, I can tell by your body posture and voice that you're forcing yourself to stay by my side, but that is not an answer I'm willing to accept. Kagome blinked. Sesshomaru? He sighed, leaning close to her face, that made Kagome blush. He pressed his lips against hers softly as she began to close her eyes. He then let go of the lips. It's all right, Kagome, but I want you to understand this. It's not like I don't love you. Are you still safe with me? Kagome nodded slowly. Yes, I'm safer with you guys. I just thought you loved me. I do love you, Kagome, Sesshomaru said. She blinked in shock. Just remember this. I will always be there to protect you. Sesshomaru smiled as he wrapped his arms around her shoulders. There is no need to fear anything. I'm not afraid. I will always love you, Sesshomaru. You're the first full-fledged demon I ever cared about. I still want to thank you for protecting me from Inuyasha. Kagome said, leaning her face into his, then kissed his lips. Sesshomaru felt relaxed as he kissed back and closed his eyes softly. During the night, Sesshomaru stood outside on the edge of the cliff while watching over the stars from the sky. He couldn't believe he didn't protect Kagome from the explosion. To his point of view, he purposely left Kagome and Rin alone without his knowledge. Sesshomaru always knew Kagome was there to protect Rin, but he blamed himself for not protecting them from demons. He was confused. He didn't sense their human aura, she and Rin's. Sesshomaru knew the demon country wasn't safe. The human country was safer out there in the village. He felt his sword was trembling a bit. He held on to his sword, then squeezed it tightly. He closed his eyes and gritted his sharp teeth. Kagome, I'm sorry. I didn't protect you. Kagome, is Lord Sesshomaru all right? Rin asked as she sat beside her at the fire. She glanced her eyes at the young priestess. He's been standing there for a few moments. I'm beginning to feel worried. Kagome felt the same. She was worried about Sesshomaru as well. She glanced down her icy blue eyes and stared at the fire. She began to spin her head around and looked at Rin's face with a smile. Don't worry, Rin. I'm sure he'll be fine. That's good. But I thought you two may have had a fight, and he was upset because Lord Sesshomaru has forgotten about us, Rin said. If that's true, he must be losing his presence aura because I was cursed by the Dark Priestess Tsubaki, Kagome thought as she gritted her teeth and clenched her fists. Is it really real? Is it a dream? Oh, Sesshomaru, please be okay. I don't want you to get upset. It was midnight. Kagome was half asleep as she laid beside Sesshomaru and Rin to keep themselves warm with his big fluffy tail. Rin softly opened her eyes and saw the sword was trembling. It was far away from them. Sesshomaru must leave his sword all by itself. Rin began to get up and walk towards it. Sesshomaru's sword, Rin whispered as she stared at the sword. Suddenly, she saw a figure was stealing the sword. She narrowed her eyes and saw a strange demon was stealing the sword. She began to follow the thief. The demon is stealing Lord Sesshomaru's sword, Rin thought as she followed it. Suddenly, Kagome woke up and found Rin was after a figure demon. She noticed Sesshomaru's sword has been stolen. Oh no, Sesshomaru's sword must be stolen. I'll have to help Rin stop that thief, Kagome thought as she carefully gets up from Sesshomaru's warm spot. She took her bow and arrows, then followed Rin. Thief, stop! Rin shouted as she ran towards the figure demon. She saw the demon drop the sword, and Rin finally grabbed it with her wide arms. She looked up and saw the strange demon was about to attack her, but she saw a light pink explosion. The demon has been shot through its head by Kagome. Kagome ran towards her and confronted her. Rin, are you alright? Yes, I'm fine. But without a warning, Rin was grabbed in the waist by the giant demon bird that made her scream loudly. Kagome gasped as she aimed at the demon's forehead, but she was grabbed in the back of her shirt by the demon bird too. Kagome screamed as well. My master wishes to see you two alone, a figure demon man with elf ears said with a smirk who is riding on the demon bird. While the demon bird is flying towards the castle, Kagome and Rin screamed out his name. Lord Sesshomaru, help us! Chapter 12. Sesshomaru to the rescue and the end of relationships. Sesshomaru woke up in the dawn. He noticed Kagome and Rin weren't with them. Their bedding spots had gone cold. as he remembers their bodies were warm, but turned out they disappeared. He began to panic. He stood up and looked around. Kagome! Rin! Where are you? Sesshomaru shouted that made Jockin wake up.
Lord Sesshomaru, what's happening? Is something wrong?
Jockin asked worryingly. Kagome and Rin are gone. I can't smell their scents. Jockin, when's the last time you've seen them? Sesshomaru asked him. Jockin looked away nervously.
Well, I remember seeing the girl sleeping beside you, my lord.
Sesshomaru gritted his teeth sharply. Jockin, I want you to stay in the camp. I'll have to go save Kagome and Rin. Jockin nodded.
Yes, my lord.
When he headed to the tent, Sesshomaru began to fly in the sky. He went searching for them to find their scents. He couldn't believe it. Kagome and Rin got kidnapped. Sesshomaru floated in the air and found their scents. He can smell the scent of the demon bird and the strange demon. He noticed it was the scent of a dragon demon. He began to follow the scents. Meanwhile, with Kagome and Rin, they were both being dragged into the throne room by the demon guard. He threw them both towards the demon dragon kind that made them exclaim in pain. Lord Drago, as requested, here are Sesshomaru's women, the demon guard said with a frown. The demon dragon named Drago wore his samurai lord armor and a distinct crimson sheen. He has blue marks on his face and 2 horns on his forehead, along with his red shaggy hair. His eyes are yellow and pupils red. He has Sesshomaru's sword that the demon had stolen from Sesshomaru and the others. The whole room is filled with bright candles glowing with small flames. He just sat on his throne as the ruler of his kind. We present you, Lord Drago of the Eastern Land, the servant announced to the 2 girls. They both blinked their eyes in shock. Suddenly, Kagome saw the familiar silver-haired woman with blue eyes walk towards them with an evil smirk on her face. Kagome knew it was Tsubaki, the dark priestess from her dreams. Her silver ebby snake appeared crawling all over her shoulders. Tsubaki, Kagome growled as she protected Rin from the dark priestess and the Lord Demon Dragon. Tsubaki, are they the ones you've been speaking of? Drago questioned the priestess. Tsubaki nodded. Yes, my lord. They are the ones we've been looking for, Kagome and Rin. I see now. Drago muttered as he walked towards them. Kagome and Rin backed away from the demon dragon and they both leaned against the wall. Stay away from us, Kagome warned with a glare. Rin hid behind her with a fearful look on her face. Kagome saw the sword that Drago had stolen from Sesshomaru. She can sense his energy power was filling up with darkness. Sesshomaru's swords are now filled with evil. Kagome knew this was bad. So you are Sesshomaru's woman, correct? Drago questioned as he pointed at her with the sword. Kagome nodded with a frown. Yes, I am. He is my protector. I told you not to be falling in love with Sesshomaru, because you will certainly die, Kagome. Too bad you won't be alive forever, and you'll never see Sesshomaru again. Tsubaki said as her eyes now glow with red. Is that why you brought this demon dragon to kill me? Kagome declared. Not quite yet, Kagome. Sesshomaru is losing his energy power because he's falling in love with you. When he loses his presence and his energy, he will be weakened by your love, Tsubaki told the young priestess. He'll never be too weak. Lord Sesshomaru is stronger than you both, Rin snapped with a frown. Drago interrupted as he laughed out. That sensitive mutt, falling in love with a priestess like you. Too bad you now have to die without him. Kagome felt being knocked out by his so-called powerful sword. She fell to the ground and gritted her teeth to feel the pain. Kagome! Rin yelled out her name, running towards her quickly. She spun around and glared at him. How dare you! A real man would never hit a girl like that. Kagome groaned in pain, glancing up to her eyes at the little girl. Rin, get away from here. Run away. Now. Rin raised her arms towards Drago as she protected Kagome. No, I won't leave you. Wait until Lord Sesshomaru will come and rescue us. She closes her eyes and waited for Drago to end her life. She can hear the sword swing towards this poor little girl and about to slay her to death. But suddenly, someone finally came here to rescue them. Rin opened her eyes and saw Drago's sword was stopped by the Tenseiga sword. They knew it was Sesshomaru. Lord Sesshomaru! Rin exclaimed happily. Sesshomaru, you came to rescue us! Kagome exclaimed too. Sesshomaru clashed into his Tokijin sword, then kicked Drago into the stomach. Drago jumped in the air, then landed on the floor. Tsubaki watched as she smirked. He glared at the demon dragon. "How dare you attack them like this?" he growled as they both clashed their swords and glared at each other. Their swords are glaring with the thunders. Sesshomaru glanced his golden eyes at them and shouted at them. "Kagome, take care of Rin. I'll be there soon." Kagome nodded as she took Rin with her. They both headed to the hallway. Suddenly, Tsubaki unleashed her Ebi snake to chase after them. She smirked evilly, then faded away. Drago ran towards them and clashed his sword into the Tenseiga. He pushed harder with his strengths, but Sesshomaru pushed back. Sesshomaru felt his strength became weakened. He doesn't know what was going on. He gritted his teeth sharply. He used his powerful strength to become stronger again. Drago backed away from the demon dog. "That young woman of yours, Sesshomaru. We can see right through her heart. Although, I can sense you weakening. You can sure pick them," Drago said with an evil smirk. Sesshomaru blinked his eyes. "What do you mean?" "What I mean, Sesshomaru, is when you ever fall in love with a young priestess, your strength and your abilities will become weaker, because of this young woman's tragic," Drago said, walking towards him. "Tragic? You mean Kagome will die?" Drago nodded. "Correct. She will die, and you will be weakened by her desires." Sesshomaru growled as he gritted his teeth sharply. He ran towards him, then slashed him into his chest that made Drago grunt in pain. The blood spilled all over him. Sesshomaru kicked him so hard, then pinned him against the wall. He pointed the shard at the tip of his nose. "Any last words?" Drago smiled at him weakly. "I'll see you in hell." Sesshomaru swung his sword, then stabbed him through his chest. When he stabbed his heart, Drago turned in the dust, and the Tokijin sword dropped into the ground. He walked towards it, then picked it up. But he felt his head was burning him. He dropped it and saw his hand was burnt up. Sesshomaru panted heavily as he frowned at the sword. Back with Kagome and Rin, they were running in the dark hallway. They both had been searching for the exit. Kagome can sense the demonic aura. They stopped for a few seconds. They spun around and saw the silver Ebi snake was running faster. They gasped as they noticed the snake was about to attack them. But the snake had been slaughtered. Its head was chopped off. They glanced at their eyes and saw Sesshomaru had slaughtered the snake. "Sesshomaru!" they exclaimed excitedly. He stared at them with a frown. Rin knew he was frowning at Kagome. They didn't know what was going on. He began to pass them without a word, but he's just speaking to Kagome. Let's go back to the camp. Kagome looked worried. She knew Sesshomaru had found out why his ability and strength had been weakening due to her tragic love. She also knew Sesshomaru had found out that Kagome will die if she ever falls in love with him. They began to follow him. When they returned to the forest, it was morning time. Kagome didn't say a word. She looked down at the ground and felt disappointed. She glanced up to her eyes and saw Sesshomaru was standing beside Jockin and didn't say a word. Did he hate her? Was he really angry at her? Kagome walked towards Sesshomaru. She knew Rin and Jockin took off and went searching for the herbs for her injuries. She saw him spinning around and seeing his face with a frown. "Why didn't you tell me?" Sesshomaru questioned her sharply. Kagome blinked in shock. "About what?" "Don't make the mistake of thinking I'm an idiot. I was told by Drago that your tragedy has weakened my energy, strength, and ability. Is this true?" Sesshomaru said. Kagome sighed sadly, nodding her head. "Yes, it's true. I had a dream of Tsubaki, the Dark Priestess. She told me if I ever fell in love with you, I will die, and your strength and your presence will be weakened. Sesshomaru, do you remember when I and Rin were being attacked by the monsters and ended up getting hurt with explosions? I could sense your demonic aura was becoming weaker, and you were losing your powerful strength and ability. I bond to whoever saves my life. If I ever fall in love with you, I will die by the hands of the traitor." Sesshomaru narrowed his eyes. "So you've been using me? All this time you've been using me to remain my weakness?" She blinked in shock. Kagome shook her head and tried to confront him. Nope, Sesshomaru, it's not, Get out. She blinked again. What? Hit the road and never come back. Go find Inuyasha and your friends. I hope you'll miss them dearly. Sesshomaru declared as he clutched his left fist tightly. What? No, you can't do that. You're my protector. You promised to protect me from Inuyasha. Kagome cried out as her eyes were filled with tears. I said get out! Sesshomaru yelled at her, unleashing his Tokijin and pointing at her neck. There's no way I would protect a human like you. You're the one who's been using me to remain my weakness by your desires. Leave before I make you. When Sesshomaru swings his sword, he didn't kill her. She almost got herself killed by Sesshomaru. Kagome began to cry as she started to glare at him, with tears flowing down her face. Fine. You know what? You broke your promise because you didn't protect me in the first place. You never even cared about me. I hate you, Sesshomaru. Sesshomaru was in shock as he watched her run off, sobbing in the middle of the forest. He couldn't believe the words he was hearing. Kagome hated him because he hurt her feelings and even tried to kill her. What have I done? Sesshomaru thought as he felt his tears flowing down his face. Meanwhile, with Tsubaki, she has been watching over them after Sesshomaru had driven Kagome away. She smirked at this evilly, as she couldn't believe their relationship was over. She spun around and chuckled. Did I hear a declaration of love for Sesshomaru? Tsubaki questioned herself. Very well. The tragedy now begins. She then saw a figure of male dresses in dark purple kimono with long wavy black hair and dark scarlet eyes appear in the shadows of the corner of the room. He had a calm yet dark smile on his pale light face. Naraku? Tsubaki, Naraku first said. I think this time will end this. Kagome's heart has been tainted by hatred. She is yours from now on. Sesshomaru's strength and ability has been weakened because of Kagome's tragic love, Tsubaki said. Naraku chuckled as he smirked a bit. She'll do.